I
You
guess.
better hurry. I just watched.
All right, welcome to the official Survivor Conquest
Hmm.
podcast. Let's see how long
Hmm.
this goes on for. Um,
Probably a couple episodes.
we'll see. So I guess, oh, they can see our names, right? So I'm Isaiah, and you are Kyle. Oh, I guess I should allow
I
you
am. I am.
to.
Yeah,
Yes.
you allow me to introduce myself. Thank you very much. I am generally regarded as the better Survivor player between the two of us. So my opinions are right, and that's all you need to consider, Jonah, our soul watcher.
Jonah, our soul watcher. Honestly, I think more people would like click on this and just to hear like what we'd say. They'd
You're
probably
right.
like sit
You're
down and
right.
watch this.
We need to be more optimistic. I hope look at the production value we have. I have the 47 logo in the background. It's
Right.
fluttery a little bit. I can see on my camera here because it's just a TV screen and not a poster, but it's going good. Anyway, Isaiah Samuel Escobar, what did you think of the season 47 premiere? 47 seasons this has lasted. What did you think?
I thought it was a pretty good premiere. A lot happened. This episode we saw a couple of beware advantages found, which typically doesn't always happen right away from the get-go. And I guess we could talk about more about how they handled the beware advantages. I thought also, correct me if I'm wrong, I think we saw a confessional from one confessional from at least
Yes,
everybody. So that's
we
good.
did.
Nobody I guess we kind of got an essence of everybody on this season to a certain degree. And yeah, I mean, the Survivor off season has been a couple months, and I've been enjoying the previous past couple New Eras seasons. So I thought this was an overall pretty good premiere.
Well, I have not seen the most recent New Era
Yep.
seasons. I stopped watching about halfway through 44, but I'm a big fan. I've kept up with Survivor mostly, so I know it. But this was my big return, and what really that my name Kyle is a guy on this was a good premiere, really well balanced. There were screen hogs. I felt like we saw a lot of. Is it Gabe or Gage? I think it's Gage, right?
Gabe.
That
Gabe.
found and activated the three tribal beware advantage. Gabe? Okay, it's Gabe. So yeah, we
Yep.
had Gabe show up and he was very, very prevalent. Obviously, we had the players that went to tribal council. We had Andy, who
Oh, I have a
was
lot to say about Andy.
the editing was very interesting this tribal and this episode overall, in that I was fully expecting Andy to go home, yet I was less shocked that John went home. I was more shocked that Andy voted for him. Now, I can see some setup in this, and it's kind of ironic that he openly stated he would betray John when they were on the mat after the immunity challenge. But I really didn't feel like there was a lot of foreshadowing that that was actually going to happen. So when it was just Anna, John, 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 and it was just clean sweep, John's out of the game. Andy smartly, I guess, didn't use his shot in the dark, so he still has that in his back pocket, and I'm sure he's going to use it correctly because he can basically either go Banu or he can go Emily right now, and he has those two paths of the premier potentially way over the top character. He can go Emily or he can go Banu. We're gonna find out, or Brandon. He could be Brandon as well.
or Brandon. So about I guess we could start talking about Andy since we're
I
on
mean,
the
we can
topic.
work our way through.
Or we can start from the beginning of the episode. I don't know. Whatever works.
We're
Um,
finding our groove as a podcast,
yes,
obviously, but
yes.
this is official Survivor 47 Survivor Conquest official Survivor podcast.
Podcast.
That's the
Yeah,
full title.
sure. So yeah, I was also very shocked that Andy did not get voted out last night. I was really convinced that Andy would be the boot, and I think it's very rare, at least for me as a viewer, that I get, I guess, a little blindsided. Well, blindsided might be too strong of a word to use. Oh, okay.
No, not that's better now. Now we have more fire. There's more
More
flame
fire.
to the
So
Survivor
yeah,
Conquest fire.
I was again quite surprised that Andy did not get voted out last night. I was fully expecting for Andy to go. And honestly, how I thought the vote would go, I didn't think the whole Annika or Annika I didn't think that would really get any traction at all whatsoever. I didn't think like John was actually going to vote that way. I just assumed that like John was going to vote Andy and Andy was going to vote John actually. So the vote for me didn't go the way I thought it would. I thought it was pretty obvious between those two because I didn't think it was very likely for them to actually get the numbers to vote out Annika. Um, so yeah, I mean, we'll see. Time will tell if they made the right decision. But I will say, my first impressions of Andy, actually, I really liked Andy. Oh my God, I'm such a nerd because he actually did like this math problem, and I actually understood the math problem he was doing, and that it's like discrete mathematics, whatever, completely off topic. So I was like, oh, this guy's so
I
cool.
know. I knew the equation too. I
No,
knew
you
the equation.
didn't. So I was like,
I
oh,
did.
that's cool.
But yeah, and
Oh, no, I was gonna say that that's cool because he's actually right. Technically speaking, from like that mathematical like equation, like that's like what you use to like solve like combinations. And by definition, yeah, it'd be pretty difficult to vote Andy out if he had two solid allies. So yeah, I'm very sad, I guess, that John went home. I thought for the time he was there, I thought he was pretty good in confessionals and things like that. And he is, I guess, a pretty big personality. I don't know how familiar you are with his podcast, but he's a pretty notable figure, I guess, in the podcasting world. He has like a podcast about like politics or something like that. So I'm actually quite sad that John got voted out. Yeah, I would have liked to see a lot more John than Andy for sure. And honestly, looking at the preview, I don't know. It sounds like they might have made the wrong decision. I don't know if you watched the preview for
I did
the.
not watch the preview, but that's whatever. Yeah, honestly, I mean, it sucks that John went home because I didn't look into a lot of the preseason stuff. I don't really tend to like to do that to an intense degree, is look into a lot of preseason stuff. So I didn't know a lot, but John was the player that I knew of because I knew he was this semi-famous podcaster. He was like the main player that I knew of, other than that there was a guy that had my name on the season. So seeing John go first boot was surprising, but I'm not entirely upset that I mean, it sucks that John went home, but I'm excited that Andy stayed because especially in Survivor, it's a really fun thing for me to see players that seemingly survive past their expiration date. Like this seems the first or the perfect tribal for Andy to go home at, and he made it past this tribal council. So I'm really curious to see what happens now because he can either flounder or he can flourish. And I'm really excited to see which path he's going to go on. You're saying by the preview, it looks like he's going to flounder a bit more than flourish, but I'm still very much intrigued because I like to see a player that was really just ready to go home, seemingly. The tribe was talking about getting rid of him. He's right there to take out, but he makes it through. He's going to be in the next episode, and I'm really curious to see how he navigates the game moving forward. To
Mhm.
circle back, though, they did change a few things this episode. For one, we got a new sweat or savvy, or that's not even what they're calling it anymore. It's just earn your
Some
goddamn
other
tribe
task.
supplies.
Yeah,
Yeah. And I thought that was pretty interesting. Is it TK? TK is the guy that won it. And
PK.
I thought he was definitely arrogant, but a really, really engaging character. But I found that was really interesting the way that they did it, where only one tribe was going to get it. They both go off and get it. So it's literally just your tribe trusting your word with the results of that sweat or savvy challenge. I don't have a better term to use for it, so I'm just going to call it the sweat or savvy challenge. But I thought that was pretty interesting. I mean, the going back to the intro challenge, they really hyped it up as like this feels like the most monumental challenge in Survivor history. There have been opening challenges in this show before, but this is the biggest opening challenge. And then it was just the same challenge we've seen before. There's a fucking net. Get under that net and go grab some puzzle pieces. That's what you gotta do. You're gonna build a puzzle. That's what you gotta do. So I felt like that was a bit overblown, the monumentalness of this opening challenge, but it was fun. I especially loved, I believe it was TK again, who went blitzing right through under net. That was pretty crazy to see him move that fast. I feel like he really will be a force to be reckoned with this season, unless he gets taken out through some effect. But if he does get to the individual portion of this game, I feel like he could be a really, really strong force, especially in the physical assets, or especially on the physical side of the game. But beyond that, no one really stood out to me immediately. So I can't really say too much on that. But going into the tribe dynamics, I don't remember all the tribes. I know the blue tribe's Tuku because that's where my boy Kyle's at. He's me. He's my name. So I'll let you take over and share some of your thoughts on how the game started out and the tribe dynamics as we see them.
Yeah, before we get into that, actually, I wanted to say something about the Sweat and Savvy task. I know you haven't watched the past couple seasons, but I think it was Survivor. It might have been 46 or 45, where both tribes didn't get or complete like the Sweat or Savvy task, so they didn't actually get like their supplies. And but it's stupid because I think after the first immunity challenge, like the tribes got the like supplies like regardless. So I feel like that kind of like diminishes like how like important the sweat and savvy like challenge actually is. So I'm assuming I think that tribe, the red tribe, Lavo, um, after the first tribal council, maybe next episode they just get their supplies. I didn't think or their fire or whatever it was because last from what I remember, I don't think on 45 they had to earn it again. They just simply got it after a certain point. Um,
Yeah, I think it's definitely overblown how much those initial camp supplies really matter. I mean, put me on the island and I'm sure I'll think it's literally life or death to get those supplies. But we literally saw the tribe that won the camp supplies initially lose the first challenge. We saw the tribe that got nothing this entire episode win the first challenge. They got first place. So I don't really think it actually matters as much as they make it out to be, but it is definitely important and it shows some initial tribe dynamics. I mean, like I said, we saw TK go blitzing out there. We saw some people struggle. We saw some people come back and help other people. So I think it's just kind of feeling people out on the cast. And I'm trying to think back to the actual tribe dynamics now. I know on Tuku, I think there's going to be this quiet boys versus girls general storyline. We've seen that before where like the guys are all bro, hey, buddy, bitch, I'm broing. And I think that's going to be something that we could see, although it was more so the girls voicing their worries about it than it was the guys saying, let's work together. So I'm not sure exactly how that's going to go, especially considering we saw TK and Gabe form a rift when TK rolls up on Gabe trying to get this key out of a rock like Angelina. And I think that so I'm not really sure if that storyline's going to go anywhere other than the girls of the tribe perceiving it to be that way. And then on the other tribes, one player that kind of oddly stood out to me was Saul or Solomon, I believe his full name is,
mhm.
on the red tribe. And I don't know why, but I think it's just because he had this presence, yet was getting no confessionals. Because I believe he only got the one confessional
Yeah.
the entire episode while they were off looking for Rome. And for some reason, he just really stood out to me this whole episode because he just stands there and he's a big guy. He seems very distinctive. And I was waiting for him to speak the entire episode for some reason. I had my eye on him. Every time he was on screen, I noticed him. And then he was just not talking, not talking. He seemed to have a decent gauge and was in a decent position, although even initially when the tribes were first get it finding their groove. He was not mentioned in the initial majority, but once Rome started to crash and burn with his idol searching, it seems like Solomon has found himself into a decent position where people trust him, or at least they want to rely on him. And him in the challenge, he was the only person getting those chests for the Red Tribe, so that was pretty crazy to see. Just getting on there, shouldering them like Jonathan before him, just putting them onto the boat. That was pretty nuts to see. So he's definitely going to be a strong physical asset. We've yet to see if he really has a super strong game sense. I think he's in an okay position, but we haven't really seen his super strong game sense. But he is just somebody that stood out to me. But I'm sure we can go into more detail when we go person by person in a little bit here. But for that red tribe, I don't remember the name. Give me some time. I think, yeah, it seems like it's just supposed to be Rome on the outs, but he is very, very close to finding the idol. I feel like he's gonna get that idol because I believe him right. He has the key to get the tribal or to get the idol for the single tribal council. So he'll at least have it for that. But he also strikes me as a player that could so easily get comfortable and then not even bother playing it, and then he gets voted out with it in his pocket, even if he only has it for the one tribal council. Like he could just not play it because he doesn't want the threat in his back, and then he gets voted out with the tribal that he could literally only use that tribal council. But then who else do we have? I don't know if there was really a threat necessarily discussed on the blue tribe. Do you recall if there was anything? I feel like that was definitely the tribe we got the least amount of dynamic from. Although I do still feel, and it's props to the editing this episode, that we got a lot from that tribe. I just feel like we got less of a target solely standing out on that tribe?
Not really. I know you mentioned the fact that there is like this subtle like narrative of a guys versus girls thing, which I don't particularly see because of the point that you made with TK and Gabe, but also seems like Gabe's closest ally is Sue on the tribe. So we know that. And I believe there was some sort of brief discussion that each of them were going to pull someone in. I don't remember exactly what the details were. But there wasn't necessarily a distinct target that I can really think of. So I'm really actually more interested to see, uh, I guess like footage and gameplay from that tribe because we don't really, I don't think, have enough information to tell who would be targeted. I mean, TK is suspicious of Gabe, but Gabe has the idol, and Gabe is aligned, has a really good alliance with Sue. So I'm not really sure how that's going to play out. I will say, I'm actually kind of surprised that Gabe settled for the idol for three tribal councils. And it's something I'm also curious about is, he said he'd settle for it, right? Like, but is there anything, I don't know if production can do this or like just him verbally saying it just like locks it down. Is there anything like stopping him from just putting the idol back into the box and just going for like the final five task? Like I don't know.
I think it was at least implied, if not strictly said, that it basically functions the same way as when you initially find the Beware Advantage. You can't just hold it in your pocket and then just keep it. You have to decide if you want to open it right then and there. So you can leave it and then not touch it, but you can't just bring it around with you and have an unopened Beware Advantage with you. The same thing with the box, where you have to decide once you have the idol good for three tribals if you want to put it in the box now and then go for the idol good till the final five, or if you want to take this and leave everything else behind. In which case, I'm assuming production would then take the box and then you can't have access to it anymore. Is how I would assume it worked. That's the way I think it was implied. Is that you have to make the decision right then and there. If you don't, then you just get the idol for however long it's worth, which is three tribals in this case.
Yeah, I feel like that's the right way to do it because it'd be kind of like overpowered if like, he's there for a couple tribal councils and he realizes, what, I actually feel pretty comfortable. Let me put it back in the box and have an idol all the way up until final five. So I hope, and I'm assuming that is the way it works. He just can't go for the idol for
Mm.
up until final five. Um, I don't know if there's much to really say about that tribe. I mean, we could go back to like I know you talked about a little bit about the red tribe, Lavo. So there is like it seems to be a solidified four, but I think it wasn't really for the reason that they all just really like vibe really well together. It was just kind of like what's his name? Rome. He like
Rome.
isolated himself or whatever, putting that target, going for the beware advantage. So there was just kind of like this like unified like consensus, I don't know, mentality. Like, oh,
Who's the fifth player on that tribe? Remind me again, because it's
Genevieve.
the group of who?
Genevieve. She's not in the four. I
Yeah, okay,
remember she
Genevieve.
was saying
I don't even know who that is, but
I,
well,
I
I'm sure
remember
you'll remind me.
I remember she was saying like she felt really good about Rome or whatever. And I think in the clip with that four, you actually don't see Genevieve there. I think it's
Yeah,
T
she's not there. It's that four,
Gold,
then it's Solomon, and then Genevieve's just off on her own, I
Asia. Who else is in that four? Forgetting somebody. Who else is on that tribe?
guess. We'll figure
Uh,
it out later.
oh yeah. So
I apologize, valued listeners, Jonah. We're gonna get all this all figured out. We just got to take some time to settle in because I don't like to go into a season of Survivor with all the information, looking up spoilers. Who would do that? No one would do that here,
yeah.
especially not here, right?
Hmm.
Anyways, we wouldn't do that. But I don't like to have all the information. Survivor is like a puzzle. You got to figure it out as the season goes along, picking up on the hints. So you shouldn't be able to just recall every single person, their occupation, the place they fucking come from right after the premiere or even before the premiere. You got to figure that out. People that are memorable will make themselves memorable as you watch the show. Anyway, this yellow tribe, I mean, obviously, I feel like Andy's the person to go if they go. And I feel like hesitantly, I feel like I would err more on the side of a Brandon or a Bonu type than an Emily. He really doesn't give me the vibe that he's going to make a deep run. He seems like maybe his tribe's going to win immunity and he'll make it an episode more. But it really feels like this tribe probably could lose in the next episode or two, shave off Andy, and then that's when the tribe gets like their flourishing standpoint. But it also, I don't know. I feel like I have these dueling mindsets because Andy with his storyline, it kind of feels like they're trying to give us some closure with and make us feel good about Andy and his story, like make it a feel good story, even though he's on the outs and he is kind of just like this social reject in a sense. Not in that he's disliked, but just in that that's how it ended up in the game. And I feel like they're trying in the edit to give us closure without having Andy be good at the game. Because like with Emily, she was good at the game. She was able to find her footing and so they could focus on that and help that make us feel good about Emily and like Emily. Whereas a player like Brandon, they had to kind of work their way around. I admittedly did not see Brandon's season, but you kind of have to work your way around with these players that have this really engaging story, but don't necessarily have the gameplay to make them rootable. So you have to give them some backwards way of making their story complete by the time they get voted out. And I feel like that's what we could be getting from Andy, where next episode he's going to get some confessional before they go off to tribal, or the next episode after that, where he's just like, I feel good about myself. Even if I go home tonight, it's okay because I found my footing and I am not that person anymore. And then he goes home that tribal, but you can still feel good about it. He wasn't just this social reject who then got voted out because he's a social reject. I don't think modern Survivor would have a storyline like that where it's just heartbreaking and he just gets voted out. I don't think they do that. So I feel like he's probably going to have an ending somewhat similar to that of what I just described, where he gets this kind of happy ending even though he gets voted out.
Hmm. Yeah, I know this is, I guess, a bit out of order. I guess now that we're on the topic of the Gata tribe, I think that's the tribe name.
Sure
Honestly,
might be.
uh, looking at like John's gameplay for the time he was there, I don't know if it was just me, but honestly, I feel like he didn't really do anything wrong. I didn't even think he necessarily played poorly this episode. I don't know if you
I
have.
think he just I think maybe what might have happened, I mean, I haven't seen any exit press, so I'm just taking a guess based on what I observed of him. I think his issue was that he kind of still trusted Andy, and that really burned him, where he still wanted to work with Andy, because there are two dueling sides in the problem of do you work with Andy? Yes, he's shown himself as reckless and could betray you and openly said at the challenge, I was going to betray John and throw him under the bus as my bid to survive, even though he's my closest ally. And you don't want to hitch your wagon to that. But at the same time, if no one else is going to hitch their wagon to that, and you're the only person attached to him, then he could be a really strong number for you. But it's an absolute gamble because he already said, I'm going to betray my closest ally to survive, which admittedly is what a lot of people would do in Survivor, but it's not something you say. You don't
Say.
just say that.
Hmm.
So I think his problem is that he took a gamble on Andy and it was a bad idea. I think that was his only real issue because he did come across as very likable. I feel like he did have a decent games to him where he seemed like he had a okay read of things. He was gauging things relatively well. The tribe mates didn't necessarily seem to have anything bad personally to say about him. So I think it really was just he hitched his right or train to the wrong wagon, whatever that expression is. I don't know expressions. But I think that was just his mistake, and it was proven that Andy would betray him. Andy voted him out 5-1 tonight, and that was still the most shocking outcome of this episode. It wasn't that John went home for me; it was that Andy voted for John, which is what I would hope. I would hope that we shed some light on that in the next episode.
Well, I mean, I thought it was still pretty surprising or like shocking that.
Are you frozen?
Am I frozen?
No, not anymore, but you were.
Oh,
But if
okay.
you were saying anything, I agreed with it fully.
Oh, okay. No, I was gonna say I actually think it is a little bit surprising that like I mean we already talked about it that John went home. I was fully convinced that Andy was gonna go. The thing that's a lot more surprising is just again like how the vote went down. So yeah, I mean is it honestly I don't know. I feel like we kind of covered just about everything.
Yeah, I think we've covered everything. I feel like the challenge. I mean, you see five different. This is the worst performance of any tribe ever in Survivor history. You see that 5 times every season at this point. So I really don't feel like the boats flipping over was that monumental for me. You see tribes bomb challenges every single season, and then it's touted as one of the worst performances ever. So that wasn't really anything notable to me. I'll point it out again. I think it's funny that the tribe that won the initial challenge for all the tribe supplies lost the challenge. The tribe that won nothing the entire time, the premier, was the one that won the first immunity challenge and came in first place. But beyond that, I feel like I'm pretty much ready to go for person to person. We can give our quick thoughts on every single person in the season.
Yeah, I guess I
Hmm.
can pull up a website that does have the full. Let's see.
Isaiah, what would be a fun idea for our brand new and soon to be very successful podcast? I
What
have
is,
a hidden immunity idol here, and I know you have that stupid owl
I
statue
don't know where
somewhere.
it is,
I think
but
what we should do is we each have one of these in every single season that we do, which is obviously going to be all of them. Like, well, all of them moving forward. I ain't going back and watching Borneo. Who wants to watch that except some people that like the show? But I think every single season we each get one immunity idol, and we can just like use it as a veto or as a hidden immunity idol and just nullify somebody's opinion. But you only get one per season, and you can't nullify somebody else's idol. So you can't
but
do that.
what
But I
what
think
what
that's
do
a
we
good idea.
get by nullifying someone else's opinion? I don't
Their
understand.
opinion is wrong. So like if you make a winner pick, I say nope. You can't do that. You have to pick somebody else. I think that'd be fun. Or if you make a controversial statement, I think John's going to be back for Legends. Well, I can say no, he's not, and then you have to say, well, he's not going to be back.
I wouldn't mind seeing John back actually. I think he's one of like the better first boots. You're gonna use it now? I actually don't think that's
No, no, I won't.
okay.
That would be a wrong play. That would be a misplay.
Okay,
All
so
right,
Teeny is up first. Um,
Teeny. Now you have some experience with Teeny, I've heard.
yeah, no. I
Oh, never
think
mind.
yeah, so I think Teeny is honestly, I think people had a pretty good read on her and what type of player she'd be. Is that, I mean, I got this vibe too that she's just going to be a very good, like that good social player that everybody likes, and it seems like she is living up to that perception. Everybody's saying how like they kind of like her and vibe with her. So in terms of her social ability, um. I mean, I think she's gonna make a deep run, but I mean, it's only episode one, so what can we really say in terms of like her strategy or whatever? But she's in a pretty good position in that solid four, and they all have a very easy vote or easy target being Rome. Well, TBD if it's actually gonna be an easy vote because the idol and whatnot. So yeah, that's what I gotta say about Teeny, I guess.
Teeny's somebody, if I were playing, I feel like Teeny's somebody that terrifies me because that's somebody that everybody likes. And if everybody likes them, everybody wants to work with them, but they get the choice of who they want to work with. So why should they pick me? And that's scary because if everyone wants to work with them, then can I truly trust that when they if play recognize very scary for Teeny. But I feel like from the vibe I'm getting from the edit, I feel like that's not what's going to happen. I feel like she's going to find her groove. She'll be in a good position. And I think she will make a deep run. I agree. She just seems like someone that's very likable, very aware, and I think she will do pretty well. I'm not
I
sure
think
if she
yeah,
necessarily has the strategic chops, but she definitely has the social game. And I mean, I don't either. There hasn't been anything to me the idea that she doesn't have the strategic chops. We just haven't seen it yet.
I think you also bring up a good point. The reason why I think we both think she's going to go very far. I think is the reason why she could also be perceived to be a big threat. But I think in this scenario, I don't think people are going to catch on to that, at least not anytime soon, and want to vote her out early for that reason. So I definitely agree. I think she's going to make it pretty deep. So
Yeah.
moving on. Oh my gosh. Rome. So I'd be very okay. I honestly do not think that Rome has much more life left in this game. I mean, yes, we saw, I think, well, we didn't actually see it like on like television, like him actually like claim like the idol good for a tribal, but he did complete the task, and we have yet to see whether or not if he's going to decide to actually continue to extend the life of the idol, which honestly, the kind of player that Rome is. I think he's gonna go for the idol all the way, like for its maximum power. And if he kind of lacks that awareness that, people are kind of up to what his antics and whatnot, um, I think that's just a bad move because I think he might need that idol the second Lavo goes to tribal council. So yeah, I don't have much faith in Rome.
Yeah.
Although I do appreciate, his very enthusiastic attitude and wanting to play the game and wanting to play hard. But there is something called threat level management, and sometimes
Mm.
playing too hard, too quickly, your flame will go out pretty
Yes.
fast. So yeah.
Rome, Defiler of Well Water. I do not think he's long for this game. He screams to me somebody that I think he's going to get the idol, and he's either going to get stuck going for the three idol or the three tribe or the three tribal idol, or he's going to get stuck going for the idol good all the way to the final five, or he's going to get the idol and then just go home with it in his pocket because he feels like he's in a good position. Because even when he was off on his own, knowingly saying I think I'm way too long. He was also saying, but everyone on my tribe likes me. So I feel like I'm in a good position. I can be out searching. And maybe he's a bit more savvy than we've been shown, where he could be aware that he's been away too long. And he now that, I mean, it remains to be seen because he is in the position now where he doesn't need to spend all that time looking anymore. He has the idol, and you literally get maps to where you need to go. It's so easy to just go at nighttime, and then if you're quiet enough, if you're sneaky enough, you can go off and get it. But Rome does not give me quiet and cautious. He gives me rambunctious, gonna get voted out with the idol in his pocket, whether it's activated or it's not activated. I don't think that he's necessarily long for this game. Maybe he could survive a tribal if another player crashes and burns on his tribe, but I really feel like he's probably going to go home.
Yeah, I mean, going back to, I guess, when he found the Beware advantage, I thought he handled it poorly. I mean, Asia obviously caught him like intensively like looking for something. And at that point it was very obvious. I mean, he could have attempted to do what kind of like what Gabe did with TK and try to like build some trust there and like rope her into what was going on. And also just looking at the scene like with like the water well or whatever. I believe that the four actually saw him there and he kind of just like and I think he like saw them there as well. Like he acknowledged like the four's presence and he kind of
Yeah.
just walked away. Um so yeah, not good. Not good. I don't think Rome
Hmm.
has much life in this game. Let's see who is next. Annika.
Danica.
Annika. Honestly, I do not have much to say about her. I mean, she did receive a vote at this tribal council.
Perfect game. Ruined. It's gone.
So maybe she has to be a kind of a threat to a certain extent or to a certain degree. And also I believe she did get some recognition at tribal council for being like the tribe leader, making the right call or whatever. So if that's the case, um, I guess she must be savvy in some way, but that's also kind of a double-edged sword. Like this early, having your name written down and being acknowledged in that light could potentially come back to bite her, in terms of like
Yeah,
being perceived as a threat. So yeah, I don't have
definitely.
much.
I think she is acknowledged as being in a good position. She was definitely given or she was presented to me as somebody that is a very capable person, but somebody that was also in a way being taken advantage of in the game. Like Sam was saying, and Sam was somebody that was quieter this episode, but I think it came across very well in that he was then she could the leader role so that he didn't have to. And I really feel like she's somebody that doesn't scream main character, but she does scream figurehead to me within this season. And I think it was kind of really funny to see, and a player that we'll talk about at some point coming up, Sierra making that little comment about Annika took charge, and then Annika was trying to downplay that. Like I saw it more as a collective, like we all came together to make this decision, just trying to downplay feeling like a leader. So she is aware, and I'm not sure if whether that was a good move on Sierra or a bad move on Sierra, if people were already realizing how much of a leader role Annika was taking, but I think she's going to be an okay position moving forward, especially, I mean, she's on a tribe with Andy, so she'll be okay for a bit, I think. But It remains to be seen. I don't know if I necessarily get great player vibes from her, but I do think she'll be a sturdy presence within the game.
Hmm.
All
Um,
right,
let's move on to TK.
TK.
I think we already talked about TK with the sweat and savvy thing, he got like the supplies for his tribe and he caught Gabe looking for the beware type thing. Now, I think that could potentially come back to bite him. I mean, he doesn't know for sure that Gabe has something, but if he decides to actually target Gabe, if for whatever reason they go to tribal council, that can definitely bite him in the butt. But I mean, I don't really have much to say about him. I think, you know, I mean, it's a good thing I would say that he didn't necessarily buy the lie that Gabe was telling. So I guess that provides some kind of like good instincts in this game,
Yeah.
which I don't know. That I don't have much to say about
I
TK.
think, yeah. I think he came across as probably one of the most charismatic figures of this season on this cast so far. And you even saw it where immediately upon returning from the journey or the sweat and savvy challenge, like his presence was pretty magnetic. He just has that kind of aura to him. He's just a fun person to be around. And I think his problem is that he's a bit arrogant about it or confident. He's somebody that has kind of that swagger, that confidence to him, but the show didn't present him as a dummy. You know, he did have good reads on things. He was shown to be a bit on to Gabe's lie. So I think he's going to be in an okay position. Maybe he could be a late pre-merge flameout or somebody that just kind of goes whenever because he doesn't scream like super main character. He screams more character to me than he does person, at least with how they're presenting him on the show. So he's somebody that I really, really like. I want to see a lot more of TK on my screen, but it remains to be seen exactly how he's going to shake out as a player, whether or not he's going to be capable or not.
All right, moving on to Rachel. Um, what to say about Rachel? I think Rachel is in a pretty good spot. I mean, on her tribe. I mean, we already talked about it, how like Annika or whatever is perceived to be like a figurehead. And Rachel, I think out of like everybody on the tribe, she has options. Like she still can work with Andy or still has Andy if she needs him for whatever reason. But it looks like I mean I we'll save that for whatever we talk about Andy. So I mean, yeah, I would say probably she's the best position on her tribe. I think she has options. That's all I really got to say about her.
Yeah, I think Rachel is a really fun presence. I think she's going to have a difficult time kind of hiding her game because I feel like she doesn't have a great poker face. She was so visibly and audibly nervous about leaving camp to go talk to Andy to the point where Andy even said in confessional, like, I wanted to seek that comfort from Rachel because I felt like I really vibed with Rachel. And then he didn't get that. Andy said that he didn't really get that good vibe from Rachel. So there's not good vibes for Rachel and Andy right now, which is a problem. But that's oh well. I think she seems like a gamer. I think she's likable. She seems fun. She seems like she has a good amount of spunk to her. I think she's gonna be in an okay position. I don't see her as being in any immediate danger, even after Andy goes, if Andy goes. But she is somebody that I feel like she does have some flaws that she's gonna need to recognize and work on if she wants to really make a deep run. But she also seems like somebody that could just end up at the end. Honestly, she reminds me a lot of last season's winner, Kenzie, in that she's social. She may not seem like the best player, but she's just there. She's spunky. She has a good energy to her, and she can just make it through.
I will say though, in her defense, like I think that's a legitimate like criticism to say like yeah, like it's kind of a bit suspicious the middle of the night, like those two walking off to have a conversation, especially so early in the game before going to the first tribal council when everybody is trying to look for any reason to get rid of anybody. That's typically how it is early in the game when there hasn't been any like trust solidified or really the game hasn't started. So I don't know. I think that was a very I think her opinion on that is very valid actually.
Yeah.
I think something so minuscule so early in the game can get somebody voted out. So,
Yeah, she was right in taking issue with it. However, she could have handled Andy particularly better with it and
mm.
actually not complaining to him that they were doing so. She should have just been there to comfort him, and then he gets good vibes from her, and they're just great together. But that's not really what we got. So
Mhm. Oh, all right, John.
lots,
So
so
first
much
person
to say
voted
here.
out. I'm sure I
Yes.
mean, we already talked about him.
Yeah.
I mean, I gave my opinion. I thought he didn't necessarily do anything wrong this episode. I thought he actually played fairly well and seemed to be very capable, in terms of actually playing this game. Quite a shame, he got voted out. I personally would have liked to see Andy go home first, but yeah, I
Yeah,
mean,
John, very fun person. It sucks to see him go. He didn't strike me as anything particularly insane or notable character-wise, but he seemed like a generally fun, affable person. And it does suck to see him go because he would have been an interesting character to see go a bit deeper into the season. But unfortunately, he is this season's first boot. Oh well, I'll see him in the first boot season.
like they'll ever do that season. Probably never.
I think so.
Oh, all right. So Gabe, I mean, I'm sure we have quite a bit to say about Gabe because actually Gabe did a lot this episode. I think he is one of the castaways that had a larger presence because he did so
Yes.
much this episode, finding the beware advantage. Um, I think Gabe is somebody who could do very well. I mean, we already saw like he found like the beware advantage. He settled for the three tribal idol, and he's already making solid bonds with Sue. I think this is just like my personal opinion as like a survivor player, and I think with tribes so small, I think it's like my opinion, I guess, is a bit more valid. I don't know if you want to whip out the hidden immunity idol now, but I think sometimes finding just one person that you can put all of your trust in is really all you need to really go the distance, especially again on a
Yeah.
tribe of six. Um, so uh honestly, I mean, yeah, I don't really have anything bad to necessarily say about him. I know, like, in terms of finding the beware advantage, people were a bit like suspicious. I think they heard him like doing something or on the mountains or the rocks or something like that. But it doesn't seem to be bringing up any sort of immediate concerns. I mean, TK is a bit suspicious, but I think Gabe is doing a very solid job building those connections. And if anything, he does have a way to protect himself. And like I said, just having Sue, that one person you can really trust in the game, I think will go a very long way for him.
Yeah, I think you covered a lot of what I wanted to touch on. He does seem like somebody that he even acknowledged it himself. He is a gambler, but we also saw him not go for the full idol. So he's a gambler. He will take risks in this game, but however you want to look at him not taking it, he's a bit conservative. He's not too risky. He'll take risks, but I'll just say it as an example now. He's not stupid, although maybe he will be stupid and he gets voted out at the fourth tribal he attends. Or maybe he'll just get voted out with this idol. But he definitely seems like of the two people that found Beware advantages this episode, he definitely handled it better. And I think having Stu around for him will be really good. Although I feel like an interesting thing this season is that Gabe was right out there immediately saying, I want to work with Stu. I love Stu. Stu seems like someone that's going to have options, but we can talk more about her when we get to her.
Yeah, and let's see if she is next. Oh, she's not next. Kyle.
Oh yeah.
Honestly, I don't think we saw much from Kyle this episode. Honestly, I'd say from the Blue Tribe. I forgot the tribe's name again.
Tuku.
Um, the main like focal points of that tribe were like Gabe, TK, and probably like Sue this episode. So honestly, as of right now, like I think Kyle's kind of just like in the background, but he gives off this vibe of being a very like happy-go-lucky guy and somebody who I think could do very well socially. I think he's somebody that could be perceived to be very likable. So that's what I have to say about
Yeah.
Kyle.
He definitely seems, I mean, the only confessional we got from him this episode was his intro confessional, and we did get some story from him, like some personal content, which is always what you look for in the major characters this season, where he talks about how he was in 20 something different foster homes throughout his youth, and
Oh
that's
yeah, I forgot.
definitely really notable. It's interesting though that that's all we got from him. So he definitely didn't give main character energy this season or this episode, but he definitely seems likable. I'm worried for him edit wise that we didn't get his views on the tribe, but he also wasn't specifically dissed against or spoken poorly of by any members of his tribe, other than in general when they were just talking about the guys of the tribe all grouping up and being broy. But he does seem likable. He seems capable in challenges. So I feel like he is somebody that we're going to see for at least a little while this season because I feel like if he was going to be someone that's going to be going imminently, we maybe would have gotten a bit more from him going into this or leading through this episode.
Hmm. Yeah, not much more. Okay. Honestly, if I can give somebody like the most forgettable person of the episode, it's this guy for me. Because I remember earlier when I was talking about the lava tribe, I'm like, who am I missing? There's somebody I couldn't think of. And it was this guy. And to be honest, like um, I don't think, I mean, I know we got a confessional from everybody. I think we got some personal content maybe with him. I know he's like an ER doctor, but we didn't really get his insights on the game, to my knowledge. And
Yeah.
not just like within a confessional, but outside of confessionals as well. I feel like he didn't really say or offer too much this episode.
Yeah, I agree with you. Until you scrolled down and I saw him, I forgot entirely about him. And then you scrolled down, it's like, oh yeah, that guy, the doctor. And definitely, I feel like we heard more about him, less from him. He was talked about, but he didn't talk to us as much. And even when he did talk to us, it was more so just about being a doctor, which was already the content we were getting from him when he was being talked about. But he seems likable. He seems like he's somebody that's going to be in an okay position for at least a little bit. Yeah, honestly, I feel like there's not much more I can say about him. I don't think we got too much strategic content on him, but he seems generally well liked. I'm excited to see more from him, so we'll just have to wait and see.
Yeah, we will have to wait and see. Sam, so I believe we talked a little bit about Sam, where I think Sam, like kind of like you said, I think he's playing very smart and very tactical right now, allowing Annika or Annika, whatever, to be the person that is perceived to be in charge or a figurehead on his tribe. Also, he was approached by John and Andy trying to when they're trying to make the move against Annika. So I mean, I think that could be very telling in a sense that people do want to work with him. He has options. Somebody who is, I guess, I think a bigger guy could be perceived to be a threat. Maybe not in the pre-merge in the new era. Obviously, we saw what the Gada tribe, what decision they decided to go with, and they decided to go with Andy's strength, over like John's, I guess, like even keeled like mindset or whatever. So, I mean, I'd say for Sam, somebody I think as of looking at the tribe right now, I think he seems to be in all right position. In terms of like merge and stuff like that, I don't know. Who really knows? I mean, I feel like guys like him typically get targeted like and go out like early, like mid-merge, but we'll see if that is the case for him.
Yeah. Now, I don't know if Sam is setting himself up at 19 to win this game, but he definitely gives me Sammy vibes from season 43. He almost seems like a bit of a better Sammy because Sammy, right at the start of 43, was just like, I want to be this broier guy who doesn't let on how smart he is. And then immediately in the Savvy challenge, he just solves it for everybody because he wanted to have the tribe supplies. Sam didn't do that, but also wasn't Sam the one that said, I'm not a sheep in wolf's clothing. I'm a wolf in wolf's clothing. So maybe
Yep.
he will be a bit more out there. But he definitely gives me someone that's savvy. He seems pretty smart and aware of himself. And I think it's not unnotable that basically everybody, like he was the person that people were going to get a plan in motion. So like the girls were going to him, or not going to him, but the girls had him in on their plan to vote out John. And it was John and Andy that were the two on the outs. And then John and Andy went to him to try and get him in on the plan, and then him to get Chelsea to flip and take out Annika, which he obviously didn't do. He went with the other numbers, but it's really, really showing to his social capital, I think, that he did get gone to for that number.
All right, moving on to
Oh
Andy.
yeah.
Andy. I think we already talked about Andy. Andy's either gonna go like two ways. Like one, like Andy's gonna just like go home. I wouldn't even say like flame out because I don't think he's necessarily overplaying,
I
but
think this was his flame out. Now, if he goes out soon, it's just his corpse floating down the river, and then it eventually just sinks.
yeah, or with what the I guess edit is trying to build, like this narrative, of him overcoming all his like insecurities and whatnot, trying to make him into this rootable figure that makes it a decent run. Um, I mean, like I said, like looking at the preview, it seems like Andy has another little like incident. I forgot what exactly was said, but I think something along the lines of like I forgot who he was talking to in the preview, but somebody was like in disbelief of like what Andy said, of whatever that is. I guess we'll find out next week. Um, so if I have to, I'm trying to think if I have to make a call right now and say which way do I think Andy's gonna go, early or he's gonna have this like deep, like rootable, like figure type run. Um, I don't know. I think Andy's gonna go early. I feel like he might be like another Banu type situation. That's just my gut feeling.
Yeah, that's definitely the vibe I get from him. Maybe he'll go a lot farther, but I don't really get that vibe from him. He seems like a very fun person, but even with him and Rachel earlier, like that was somebody that he felt like he could work with, and then just immediate bad vibes. I don't think he's an idiot. He's just insecure, and that's really unfortunate for him. But definitely a likable character. I wouldn't be opposed to seeing him go further, but I feel like last episode really was his episode to go home. If he goes at any point past this, it'll be like, yeah, okay.
Yep, I agree. Uh, Moving on to Sue. So we kind of mentioned Sue. I mean, typically the older person or like the older lady is seen to be like an easy boo and early out. But I honestly don't get that vibe from Sue. I mean, we already saw that Sue is aligned with arguably, you could say, like the most powerful person on the tribe. I mean, that's something that she has going for her. And they did briefly talk about potentially making some type of four. So I think Sue's in a really good spot. And honestly, I think Sue has the potential to make a deep run. I don't think she's going to be like I said, like the older, like people that get targeted early and go home early for the sake of being old. I mean, the last person I think I can recall, like in the new era, that had like that mother type role perception was like Heather, but from 41. But I think she's a bit more.
What about the girl from Julie? Is that her name from
Oh yeah,
45?
yeah, yeah. Yeah, Julie. Julie. Oh yeah, that's right.
Didn't even see that season, Isaiah. Didn't even see that
I
season.
forgot about Julie. But anyway, I think Sue is going to be somebody who actually can do well in this game and make a decent run. I mean, as of right now, like I said, I think she's in a pretty good spot. And I don't know, she got approached for whatever reason. I From what I saw in the episode, I don't think like Sue necessarily, I guess, approached Gabe or like said anything that really like resonated with Gabe. I don't know. It was just kind of like a gut instinct thing. So for whatever reason, people are attracted to her and wanted to work with her. So yeah, good things to say about Sue, I guess.
Yeah, Sue's definitely somebody that I really like. She's honestly, if we're gonna pick winner picks at the end of this episode, she's somebody that I'd be really tempted to pick, but it's really difficult for me because especially in the new era, there's been a common trend where the winners aren't really focused on as much as being amazing players right from the get-go. I feel like we haven't really seen that as much in the new era. And for Sue to be one of the people that I feel like really came out looking best, she may have been the person to come out looking best of this entire premiere episode because she has the guy with the idol wanting to work with her, but then wasn't somebody else, or she spoke about somebody else saying she really liked them. I don't remember exactly who it was,
I
but
I don't either. I'm assuming it's I think it's one of the women though. I don't know.
yeah, but she had that conversation. So I feel like she is probably one of, if not the person that comes off looking the best in this episode. And just by that fact alone, I'd be a bit hesitant to say she's really well set up. I think she could absolutely make a deep run. I feel like we're going to be seeing quite a bit of Sue unless she has a one episode heel turn where she just suddenly one episode completely devolves and her game just implodes. But it remains to be seen as of right now, based on everything we've seen so far. She seems like one of the best positioned players to make a deep run in this game. Unassuming, not really that threatening, but super smart and very likable. So she's somebody to keep an eye on, in my opinion.
Yeah, and it's funny that you talked about like winner picks because I guess we'll go like into that later, but like Sue is somebody that's definitely like on my radar. And I think the thing with the new era too is there's like this common trend where I feel like the person you kind of don't expect to win, like they win. Like, maybe like I think Kenzie and probably like D, those are kind of like, I don't know, expected to a certain extent. I'm not sure. But they showed I think from an early like episode that they're quite savvy in the game and whatnot. So I guess we will talk about that later. Caroline. I think Caroline was actually the person that
I have. Can I cut you off? I have no idea who this is.
okay, I think she was the person that you were talking about that
Oh, okay.
Caroline really liked her. Um something like, oh my God, it's so loud.
Sue really liked her, yeah.
But yeah, I think she was the individual you're talking about. It's funny how like you don't even remember her because when the 47 cast leaked, she was the only person that did not like leak. Like the only thing we knew about her is that there's somebody on the season named Caroline. We didn't have a
Oh yeah,
picture,
I remember
last
something
name.
about that vaguely, yeah.
Yeah, like absolutely nothing. And to be honest, I don't really have much to say about her. Um, except that I think I'm trying to think. I think she's in this so-called like possible four that may come into fruition. Because yeah, I believe it was Gabe felt good with somebody, Sue felt good with another. They're gonna bring their like person in to make the four. And I think this is like Sue's person that she feels pretty good about. But yeah, not much to say about Caroline, to be honest.
Caroline, I'm excited to get to know you. You see, I remember you vaguely now. She seems cool. That's it. That's all I gotta say about Caroline.
Not much to say about Caroline. Asia. Okay, so I guess there's much to say about her because I mean, I've never seen her on Rob Has a Podcast, but I am aware that she is a podcaster on there. And right away, we do get to see that she gets recognized by Teeny and it actually ends up working to her advantage because I believe while she was on the journey, uh, somebody was trying to already solidify a four. I think it was actually just like the four except for Rome. And I believe Teeny like stepped in and said like, oh, like,
I want to leave the option open for
to
Aisha.
work with
Aisha.
Asia, right? And there's one person that's
Asia.
not on this tribe, I think we have to wait and like, she wanted to give her a chance. So it seems like that recognition is actually working for her. Because I guess when we talk about Genevieve, which I don't think had much of a presence in this episode at all, I guess she kind of like took her place in that obvious solidified four. And being
Yep.
somebody who I guess clearly knows the game, watches the game, talks about it. I think there's a lot of potential for her to do well and go far. I mean, like I said, the fact that, Teeny approached her and wanted to work with her, she didn't even get the supplies for the tribe. And, like I said, anything very early in the game can be seen as a negative and an incentive to vote somebody out. But seems like she did a pretty good job working her way in, or maybe just not working her way in, just getting lucky that she was recognized and somebody wants to work with her. So yeah, I'd say Asia definitely has a chance to make a deep run. Although I do believe at some point in the game, assuming that Teeny and Asia make a deep run, she probably will be outed for being a podcast on Rob Has a Podcast, and that can be used
Oh
against.
my goodness. Oh no. Yeah. Asia is somebody that after hearing you talk about her and collecting my own thoughts, she's another person that I'm really tempted to pick as my winner pick.
I feel like it's too
Just
good to be
because,
true. I don't know.
well,
I
I think she had, because she had the negative gameplay wise of failing, but she wasn't viewed at all negatively
that's
by her
true.
tribe. And I'm sure the editors had confessionals of people talking negatively about Asia doing that. But that's generally something that happens with winners, especially in the new era in Just Throughout Survivor. is that while they may make mistakes, they may screw up, they're generally not talked about and they're generally not focused on when they do have screw ups like that. So reading into the edit, that's something that's more notable for me, along with the fact that just in general, I think gameplay wise, beyond messing that up, she did bounce back really, really well. And she does seem to be this really, really likable, game savvy person. So I don't know. She just seems like a pretty well-rounded person. I don't know if we've gotten necessarily a ton of strategic chops from her, but it's also so early into the game that it's really difficult to tell exactly how cutthroat, how savvy a lot of these players are. But I can definitely tell that she has the ability to bounce back. She's likable enough that she has found herself in a good position. Or, speaking hesitantly here, maybe Rome is just that not bad.
Uh, Yeah.
So we'll see, but she's definitely somebody I have my eye on. It's
Yeah.
really, really difficult to say because there was that balance there where she wasn't talked badly about despite screwing up. So she's somebody that I am really tempted to pick for my winner. She's somebody that I have a really keen eye on.
I think that's actually a good point that you bring up in terms of the winners edit, because that is something that I can recall was very much a thing with Kenzie. Because I mean, Kenzie, I think made quite a few mistakes. I know you didn't really watch 46, but I guess those mistakes never really, she was never really, I guess, portrayed in a negative light in terms of the edit. So yeah, that's something I guess to consider, and that was a very good point.
Yeah.
Sierra, honestly, I don't really have much to say about Sierra. She was just kind of like there. I don't know. I feel like she's probably like the most
I mean,
forgettable person for me on the God of
I found
War.
her I found her a bit more notable. She had that
Really?
confessional about being a pageant queen, but being more than that, and how she is a bit more of a tomboy. She was like daddy's
Oh
girl
yeah.
who, like, she's like her dad wanted a boy, so she was her dad's boy. And then what really stood out to me, and we talked about it briefly, was that comment she made about Annika at tribal council, talking about how Annika really like stood out, and that's a really I mean, like it's not made out to be a huge thing, but if I were sitting at tribal council next to Sierra, if I was Annika, I'd be saying, "What the hell?" or like, "Wow, shots fired," because that's something you pick up on. If I'm hearing that said at tribal council, I know immediately that Sierra is trying to put a target on Annika's back. That's something really, really notable. Having played a wee bit of online Survivor myself, you don't just say something like that about your ally. That's not just something you point out like, hey, you're a leader. You do that when you want there to be a target on someone's back. And that's not something that you should easily brush off if you are Annika. That shows me that maybe I can trust Sierra right now, but Sierra wants me to be more notable. She wants people to notice my leadership.
Mhm.
So she seems savvy, but she also seems a bit out there and blasé with her gameplay. But she's definitely somebody I have my eye on. She's somebody that seems like she could be a really good pick to go deep this season. Might have sense.
Interesting. You seem to be a lot higher on Sierra than I am. I mean, not saying that she's like bad or anything. It's just I don't know. I guess I didn't really remember all of the positive attributes about like her game and stuff like that during the episode. All right, moving on to Solomon or Saul. Honestly, very quiet, I think this episode as well. Not he had that one confessional. He didn't really say much, but I don't know what it is about him. He just gives me the vibe that he seems like very, very aware. I don't know what it is about him. I think he definitely could be a very savvy player, even though he gives me the vibe that he's a bit quiet, sometimes in the game of Survivor, it's a good thing to be quiet, and you need to know like when it's time to keep your mouth shut and when to just keep your eyes open and just be a really good listener. Um, and I don't know, Saul just gives me that kind of vibe. Not much to say about him because I didn't think
Yeah.
he had the biggest presence in the episode, but he just gives me the vibe that he can do well in this game.
Yeah. Solomon, I'll just reiterate some of the points that I made earlier. Yes, a quiet episode for him, but for some reason I kept noticing him and I kept waiting for him to speak. I think
Hmm.
just has this presence to him. Like I just notice when he's around. He's somebody that just kind of has that drawing aura to them. Like I'm drawn to him. So it's definitely somebody that, again, he's another person that I could almost be tempted to pick as a winner pick because I don't know, there's something about like just like his vibe, but he's a really scary person to pick as my winner pick because I feel like we could also see him just be Roxroy next episode, just like that older guy that's all about loyalty and tribe strength. I feel like that could so easily be him. There's just such a gray area for him where he does have this really strong presence. I kept noticing him. I have my eye on him, but unlike a lot of the other people that I'm considering for my winner pick, I just don't have enough of a grasp of exactly how savvy he is as a player.
I agree. I think picking him would be definitely more of a gamble. It's kind of just like, I don't know, this gut instinct thing about him, that he could potentially go the distance. Tiana, what do you want to say
Who?
about Tiana? Because I don't remember
Who is
much.
Tiana?
I
Who
don't
is Tiana?
know.
Wait, which tribe is she? Which tribe is she
She's
from?
on the Blue Tribe.
Yep. Can't wait to meet her.
Okay, not much. Okay, wow. I
Listen, I'm
mean,
sorry. I don't
no,
remember.
no, it's okay
Listen,
because
I
I have at least
remembered
been trying to find one thing to say about somebody, but both of us just couldn't think of anything to say about
I
her.
mean, it had to be a quieter episode for some people. I'm sure she'll like her and Caroline were definitely the quieter presences. I remembered Caroline after we talked about her. Tiana, if she got zero confessionals, I wouldn't be surprised. I know she got some because I know at least everyone got a confessional, but
Hmm.
she was definitely a really quiet presence this season or this episode.
Yeah, not much to say about her. And that
Or
was the
that
last
that was
castaway.
it.
That,
Tiana ending on a strong note.
yeah, most definitely. I guess we've talked about everybody. We gave our thoughts on the episode. I guess we could talk about, I don't know, I guess do you want to make a winner pick now? To be honest, I don't even know
Uh,
who'd I'd pick. Like, there's a
I mean,
couple people I have in mind.
I ran through everybody I'm considering. I didn't mention it, but Sam is somebody that I would also consider. He was viewed a bit too positively for me, and the Wolf in Wolf's Clothing line really screams, "I'm gonna get too arrogant and get like eighth place or something like that." Kind of how Sammy was, honestly. Although he does seem a bit more savvy than Sammy was,
Mhm.
but I do kind of get a similar vibe from that, so I would kind of count him out. The other people I went over were Sierra, Asia, and Solomon and Sue, but Sue again seems like a bit too much of a too good to be true. She almost seems like she could be like the fifth place really good player, the Ricard, the player that does really well but kind of goes late game. But at the same time, it's difficult for me because Sue is the archetype that is so often just cast out. They're an insanely early boot, or they're the player that goes far but just
That's the
loses at
same
the end.
reason why I kind of want to pick her because it's like I feel
Yeah.
like you see that a lot in the new era. The person you wouldn't expect to like win the game, typically wins the game. I don't know, like Marianne was such like a big character. Gabler, honestly, watching the entire season,
Hey,
some people
as
would say like
someone
they
that
did not see it
correctly
coming at all.
as someone that correctly saw Gabler winning coming, I can say that my winning picks are a lot more strong than yours. I also picked Yam Yam, might I
I
add.
picked
I
Jam
picked
Jam as
Mike Holloway.
well,
I picked Nick
and
Wilson.
I didn't think he'd be somebody again who'd win because he's just such like a bold, like out there personality.
Yeah, but Sue, I agree with you. It's so hard to pick Sue based off the premiere because it was so positive, and that's really difficult, especially in the new era, to see someone that was shown so positively in the premiere and feel confident that they're gonna they're gonna go all the way and win. But at the same time, given how the older mom archetype is usually viewed and how they usually fare, it makes me want to pick her because that character isn't usually seen as the person immediately on top of the tribe. As I said, one of possibly the person that was viewed that I'm viewing the best coming off of this premiere. You never see the mom archetype be viewed as that right from the get go. So I don't know. You kind of convinced me a little bit, or you swayed me back to Sue.
I feel like
I feel like
the same reason why you don't want to pick Sue is the same reason why I don't want to pick Asia. I think it's too good to be true, but I think you made a really good point in that she kind of had something that she did negatively or should be perceived to be a negative thing against her game, but the edit kind of like protected her from being portrayed or seen in a negative light. And to be honest, I know you are somebody that is a lot more aware of how the edit it works and the edgic. I am not. I typically don't know how that works. So I don't like to look into that when deciding or a winner pick of who I think is going to do well. Uh
Yeah,
gosh. I don't know.
it's difficult for me.
It's
I've never
between
done proper win.
two.
Shut up. I've never done proper winner picks before. Like usually I just go with the joke answer, or before really like I was part of a larger Survivor community or fandom, I would just pick whoever I liked most based off the premiere. That's how I got Nick Wilson and Mike Holloway as correct winner predictions. I just liked them the most based off the premiere and I picked them and then they won. It's difficult for me now, like actually trying to analyze the edit and think of who I think could win. I feel like I have to rule out Saul or Solomon just because I feel like there's too much of a gamble that he is a rock. Right? He's the dad archetype that thinks about strength and loyalty. Maybe he's a Mike Turner from 42, and he's a lot more savvy because he does seem like he. I don't know. Like I just get that vibe that like he's wise, he's smart, maybe he's loyal, but he knows when to cut throats. But I haven't gotten enough from him to confidently say. So maybe it's going to be the bane of my winner pick this year that I didn't take a gamble on Solomon, but I feel like I just haven't gotten enough to take that gamble on him. So I have to kind of rule him out. I feel like he is somebody that we could see go far, but it's difficult for me to confidently say and to really take that risk on him. So for me, it's between Sue, Sierra, and Asia. Sierra, I still feel like it was quieter. And like you said, like I had a lot more to say about Sierra than you did. But at the same time, how much did anyone have to say about Erica at the start of 41? And I mean, I only watched the premiere 45, and then I think I maybe watched one other episode, but I don't remember Dee being particularly notable in the premiere. But then she
Not
went
really.
goes on to have one of the strongest premieres. I feel like Sierra was shown enough that I remember her. I had plenty to say, but I had plenty to say because I feel like I read between the lines because I saw a lot of the subtle things she was doing. So I feel like Sue's too obvious. I have to go with a more interesting pick. So I'll go Asia or Sierra. It's just difficult to pick one.
See, for
Uh,
me, I feel the same way about Saul. Like it's just not enough to go off of. Like it's a complete gamble if I were to pick him. I think he definitely could win, but it's just like again, it's just like kind of like a gut instinct thing. He hasn't really shown all that much. Um, I feel like age is like too good to be true, but then again, that's the thing about the new era. It's like the person that you think isn't going to win, I feel like ends up winning. So I wouldn't be
mm,
surprised in that way if Asia does win the game. Um, I kind of want to pick Sue, but it's the fact that the point you made about like her being viewed so positively in the premiere. I'm trying to like think back to previous winners if they really, at least for the new era, if that was the case where they weren't
yeah.
viewed all
I
that.
mean, it's difficult for me because especially reading into the edit, we don't have like in a way you almost have to acknowledge that Sue is in a great position because she didn't say it. She didn't, which makes me want to pick her a bit more now, actually, because she didn't openly say, I'm in the best position. She just had somebody that really wanted to work with her that has an idol. And then she really wanted to work with somebody else, and no one had anything bad to say about her. But she didn't say, I have everyone wanting to work with me, which leaves it more to the audience to recognize it. It leaves it more to people reading the edit to recognize just how great of a position she is in. I think it was pretty obvious with the edit of how great of a position she is in, but it tells me something that it wasn't blatantly said. Because I feel like editing wise, usually the editors, at least before season 41, generally treated the audience as idiots. They really spoon fed them the winner, at least most of the time, or at least like if you knew what to look for, you could 95% of the time predict the winner. But now that I pointed out that like it wasn't blatantly said, she didn't state, I'm in a great position. I have this guy with the idol that wants to work with me. I have this other person I want to work with that seemingly wants to work with me. It wasn't said. You had to acknowledge the viewer had to see that she was in a great position. It wasn't told to them, which makes me want to pick her a bit more. But I feel like I don't know. I feel like I just can't
I've
go
made
with
my
Sue right now. I
decision.
feel yeah. Okay, okay, I'll flip this coin. I picked up this coin. I'll choose Asia or Sierra, but I have one person. If it lands on heads, then I'll pick the person. If it lands on tails, then I'll pick the other. All right, so you're gonna call it heads or tails?
Tails.
Tails. Okay, it was heads. All right, I have my winner pick. All right, do you want to say them on three?
Yeah, let's do
All
it.
right, Isaiah. Three, two, one. Asia.
Sue. I'm gonna go with Sue.
Two. I'm going with Asia. All right, we have winner picks. Stu, Asia. Are they on two different tribes? Yes, they are. They're
Yes,
on two
they
different
are.
tribes.
Yes, they are.
Well,
It's
this should
interesting
be
because like
interesting.
I feel like I don't know. I guess I've never like really dissected or like really like talked about like a season of Survivor airing, but like yeah, typically before the season comes out, yeah, I have like a winner pick or like a prediction. But I think this is the first time I've ever picked somebody in this archetype. I feel like most people wouldn't pick the older lady to win the season, but again, just with the new era and seeing how well she is playing so far, I think she could definitely pull it out.
Yeah, I think so. Trust me, every fiber of my being wants to pick Kyle because we have the same name, but that didn't work out well for me in season 32, so I can't do it now. So I don't. Well, I got Asia now. I feel good about Asia. There's a part of me that wanted to pick Sierra, but I'll keep my eye on her. But
Mhm.
Asia is my official winner pick, as the coin decided.
Yeah, we'll see what happens. Again, I feel like with her, it's like too good to be true. But again, for that reason, I wouldn't also be surprised if she wins. So we'll have to see.
Yeah. All right. Any predictions for next episode? Any wild predictions for the season? What do you think is going to happen? Who do you think is going to go home? And then we'll say our goodbyes. Follow me on Twitter. I don't know what my Twitter is, but you can follow me there. Follow me on Instagram and Facebook and subscribe to the Kylio YouTube channel handle at Kylio Game. It's going to be a huge channel, a lot of good game in there. Anyway, go
Uh-huh.
ahead, Isaiah.
So any predictions for next episode? Uh I'm gonna say that we're gonna see. You know what? This is, I guess, a bold prediction. Let's do like a bold prediction for like every episode. I don't know. So I'm gonna say episode two, we're gonna see. Is it Tuvu? Is that the Blue Tribe? Right?
Tuku.
Or Tuku. Okay. Tuku is going to tribal council, and Gabe and TK are gonna go at it. Well, maybe not actually fight, but they're gonna target each other because of the whole key incident. That's my bold prediction for episode two. Yeah, that's what I have to say.
All right. My bold prediction. Who's that girl that the last girl we talked about that I didn't remember? Started with a T, didn't it?
Oh, Tiana?
Yeah, she's gonna go home. It's gonna be really crazy.
You know what's crazy? Actually, hold on. You know what's something I realized? I scrolled through that entire website of the whole cast, like the cast list, and I don't think we talked about Genevieve. I don't even think Genevieve was there. So,
Oh wait a minute. Who's Genevieve?
so
Oh
Genevieve,
no,
well, sorry.
that's
I guess you
unfortunate.
weren't. Yeah, very unfortunate. I don't know what that says about her and how she's gonna do this season.
Should have had her as my winner pick. Damn, 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 damn.
She's playing so well under the radar that not even the press like knows about her. Like we forgot about her.
Holy crap. She is so under the radar.
Oh,
Oh wow.
man.
All right, but I mean my actual prediction, I'll say Rome goes home next episode.
Mm. I think yeah, I mean we talked about it. I think he's definitely gonna go pre-merge, but we'll see
All
if
right.
next episode is his time to go. But that is it for the Survivor Conquest.
For our debut episode. Pretty crazy. I think we're going to be here for at least one more episode and then maybe some more, but remains to be seen. This was fun, Isaiah. Thank you so much for hosting. Thank me for now doing the helping.
Yeah. All right. See y'all next time. Bye.